Welcome to Literature Hub. Today we are discussing the poetry The Beowulf in English, and in the next lecture we'll discuss the story in Hindi. The Beowulf is the national epic of England. Our first poetry, that is Beowulf. Here is the story of Beowulf, the earliest and the greatest epic or heroic poem in our literature, that is English literature. It begins with a prologue, which is not an essential part of the story, but which we receive gladly for the sake of the splendid poetical conception that produced Scyld, who was king of Spear Danes. Spear Danes was a place. At a time when the Spear Danes were without a king, a ship came sailing into their harbour. It was filled with treasures and weapons of war, and in the midst of these warlike things was a baby sleeping. No man sailed the ship. It came of itself, bringing the child whose name was Scyld. Now Scyld grew and became a mighty warrior and led the Spear Danes for many years, and was their king, when his son Beowulf had become strong and wise enough to rule, who speaks but once to any man, came and stood at hand, and it was the time for Scyld to go. This is how they buried him. So they buried him. They didn't actually buried him. They sent his dead body into that ship from which he came. Now one of the Scyld's descendants was Hrothgar, king of Danes, and with him the story of our Beowulf begins. Hrothgar in his old age had built near the sea a mead hall called Heorot, the most splendid hall in the whole world, where the king and his thanes gathered nightly to feast and listen to the songs of his gleeman. One night, as they were sleeping, a frightful monster, Grendel, broke into the hall, killed 30 of the sleeping warriors, and carried off their bodies to devour them in the lair under the sea. The appalling visit was speedily repeated, and fear and death reigned in the great hall. The warriors fought at first, but fled when they discovered that no weapon could harm the monster. Heorot was left deserted and silent for 12 winters. Grendel's horrible 12 winter means 12 years. Now Grendel's horrible raids continued, and joy was changed into mourning. Mourning means sadness. At the last, the rumor of Grendel crossed over the sea to the lands of the Geats, where a young hero dwelt in the house of his uncle, King Hygelac. Beowulf was his name, a man of immense strength and courage, and a mighty swimmer who had developed his powers of fighting the neckers, whales, walruses, and seals in the ice-bound northern ocean. When he heard the story, Beowulf was stirred to go and fight the monster and free the Danes who were his father's friend. With 14 companions, he crossed the sea. There is an excellent bit of ocean poetry here, and we get a vivid idea of hospitality of brave people by following the poet's description of Beowulf's meeting with King Hrothgar and Queen Wiltheo, and of the joy and feasting and storytelling in Heorot. Heorot was the big hall. The picture of Wiltheo passing the meat cups to the warriors with her own hand is a noble one, and plainly indicates the reverence paid by the strong men to their wives and mother. Night comes on. The fear of Grendel is again upon the Danes, and all withdraw after the king has warned Beowulf of the frightful danger of sleeping in the hall. But Beowulf lies down with his warriors, saying proudly that since weapons will not avail against the monster, he will grapple with him barehanded and trust to a warrior's strength. So he wanted to fight with the monster Grendel barehanded, because the monster had no weapon, so he must not have any weapon. At the sight of man again sleeping in the hall, Grendel laughs in his heart, thinking of his feast. He seizes the nearest sleeplet, crushes his bone case with a bite, tears him his limb from his another limb, and swallows him. Then he creeps to couch of Beowulf and stretches out a claw, only to find it clutched in a grip of steel. A sudden terror strikes the monster's heart. He roars, struggles, and tries to jerk his arm, but Beowulf leaps to his feet and grapples his enemy barehanded. To go forth I search, tables are overturned, golden benches ripple from their fastenings, the whole building quacks, and only its iron banks keep it from falling to pieces. Beowulf's companions are on their feet now, hacking vainly at the monster with swords and battle axes, adding their shouts to the crashing of the furniture and the howling war songs of Grendel. Outside the town of the Danes, the stands shivering at the uproar. Slowly the monster struggles to the door, dragging Beowulf, whose finger cracks with the strain, but who never relaxes his first grip. Suddenly a wide wound opens in the monster's side, and the skewn snatch. The whole arm is wrenched off at the shoulder, and the Grendel escapes, shrinkering across the moor, and plunges into the sea to die. Beowulf first excludes in his night's work. Then he hangs the huge arm with its terrible claws from a crossbeam over the king's seat, as one would hang up a bear's skin after a hunt. At daylight came the Danes, and all day long, in the intervals of singing, storytelling, speech making, and gift giving, they returned to wonder at the mighty grip of Grendel and rejoice in Beowulf's victory. When night falls, a great feast is spread in Heorot, and the Danes sleep once more in great hall. At midnight comes another monster, a horrible half-human creature, mother of Grendel. Ragging to avenge his offspring, she thunders at the door. The Danes leap up and grasp their weapon, but the monster enters, seizes Essikar, who is a friend and advisor of the king, and rushes away with him over the fence. So that the monster's mother, that is Grendel's mother, attacked Beowulf and his warriors once again. But Beowulf fought against her mother and killed her mother also. Then the story moves further. In the last part of the poem, there is another great fight. Beowulf is now an old man. He has resigned for 50 years. Beloved by all his peoples, he has overcome every enemy but one, a fire dragon keeping watch over an enormous treasure hidden among the mountains. One day a wanderer stumbles upon the enchanted cave and entering takes a jeweled cup while the fire dragon sleeps heavily. The same night the dragon is in a frightful rage, bleating forth fire and smoke, rushes down upon the nearest village, leaving a trail of death and terror behind him. Again Beowulf goes forth to champion his people. As approaches the dragon's cave, he has a presentiment that death lurks within. Then Beowulf fights with dragon also. He is wrapped in fire and smoke and is helped by the heroism of Wiglaf, who is one of his companions. The dragon is slain, but the fire has entered Beowulf's lung, and he knows that Weird is at hand. This is the thought while Wiglaf removes his battle armor. So he is badly injured. Our hero is badly injured here. Then Wiglaf comes to rescue Beowulf. While Beowulf was still living, when Wiglaf sent a messenger hurriedly to his people. When they came, they found him dead and a huge dragon dead on the side beside him. And this is how the story of our great hero Beowulf ends. The last word of Beowulf is, "Now wounded sure, I wait for joy to come." This is Grendel. Then Beowulf's photo is also there and the mother of Grendel. Thanks for watching.